Hollywood is like a casino. It's designed to make you fail. It literally is. You walk into a casino, you're betting against the house, and the house always wins. And Hollywood operates the same way.
Hey, Nico. Today's guest is none other than David Bianchi. He is an actor, producer, writer, and also a creator of the Primetime Emmy-nominated series Razor. He's got a very impressive resume. He's got over 130 film and television credits, which is a lot. I don't know. His work spans, studio films and hit shows. He's got credits like Queen of the South on Netflix, Resident Alien, SEAL Team on Paramount, and lots more. He's also a member of the Producers Guild of America and the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. He likes to describe himself as a performer and a visionary producer, which I love that for him. He graduated magna cum laude from Arizona State University. He had a BFA in theater and is Afro-Brazilian and Italian, hence the Bianchi last name. He holds
all those citizenships.
All those citizenships, and is also fluent in English, Spanish, and Portuguese, which I think is super impressive. I think Portuguese is hard. He's also got a production company, Exertion Films, and he's licensed feature films to Hulu, HBO Max, Paramount, Apple, Fandango, and more. Like, this guy's never sleeps, probably. He never sleeps.
I gotta add to that. Have you seen him talk?
I have.
This guy has like contagious energy. He's like a fucking powerhouse.
Yeah, which is why he is a very popular speaker. I think when I discovered him, he was speaking at the Cannes Film Festival. So I'm very excited to have him on. And we're going to just jump in and ask him questions about what his career has been like, the highs and lows, also what making it means to him. We are going to just take him with us as we go through the episode. We're going to hit all our segments, and it's going to be a fun one.
Okay, but before we do that, and since we don't have that much time, how are you, Helen?
Oh, I'm great. I'm having a good week.
Tell me about it.
A lovely week. I've been meditating every day this week. So it's
really
been really
interested in hearing more about that. So let's walk through the mechanics of Helen's meditation process. You wake up in the morning, you open your eyes.
I open my eyes.
And you dive into meditation, or there's something you do before you get ready for meditating?
I will scroll on TikTok for like a little bit, not a lot. And then I'll
get primed. So your brain gets primed for
my
the
brain
meditation.
needs to be primed to... I know. It doesn't make any sense, but it makes
sense.
No,
but wait. I'm saying this in all. I do the same, and then I don't meditate. So, okay, let's put things in perspective. Who's better at this? Who's better at life right now?
Better in general, it's me. Yeah, if you've been watching, it's me.
The thing is, like, for people who wake up to meditate, it's like, how do you not fall asleep again?
Well, that's the beauty of it, okay? You almost do want to fall asleep because you enter your subconscious mind and you're able to learn more from the meditation and incorporate it more into your subconscious mind, which is where you want it to make the biggest impact. So for me, that's a good place to be. Wide awake enough from the TikToks and the entertainment, but then also just like in a calm state with the meditation. So I highly recommend that recipe. TikTok for 5 minutes and then meditate for 20.
Is what the monks in Asia recommend. The top meditators really recommend this media diet. I want to ask you something else. So when I'm trying to meditate, because I tried, you are supposed to witness your thoughts passing through your brain, through your mind, right? And then try to go back to the center, trying to go back to this neutral state that is devoid of thinking. The problem I have is that seconds or even minutes into thinking about something else, I realize that I'm thinking about something else. My brain has a very hard time not realizing that my mind is going somewhere else.
You have to just allow it to go somewhere else. Once you become aware of it, you're not supposed to reprimand yourself. You're just supposed to kind of ease back from the meditation. Yeah. What is your morning routine? Nico's in bed. He opens his eyes.
Nico's in bed. It opens his eyes generally before the alarm goes off. If it's right outside, it's 7:30 a.m. So around, I would say 7:20, my brain, wakes me up. I have my night guard on. I have my earplugs. I have my night eye thing, right? So I'm heavy, I'm like in Guantanamo Bay right now. So I start by peeling off my eyes and getting the sunshine in. After that, I take my earplugs off just to get the awareness of the environment. Finally, the night guard, which is a new addition. I haven't had a night guard until now.
Why is it a new addition?
Because my dentist convinced me that I had to buy one because I was grinding my teeth. So I take that out and now I'm like, okay, I'm alive. First thing I do, even before I realize if Mitch is awake, because I found this, sometimes I turn and then she's there and she's on the phone and she's awake and I didn't realize. This is very embarrassing. I get my phone, check my emails, and then I do Instagram, and then I don't do TikTok, but I do Instagram, and then sometimes I go into kind of news. Halfway into that,
you're
go ahead,
up
no.
from bed? You're up from bed or you're
No.
still in bed?
I'm severely bedridden at this point.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Halfway into that, I go make myself a coffee and make one for Mercedes, bring it to bed. And then for the next 25, 30 minutes, I finish my social media diet and my news diet. And that's going to be the most exposure I'm going to have to social media. In my credit, I'm not going to go through the day all the time checking out social media, or at least for not for long periods of time. This is my time to soak in the good news of the day and what everybody else is going through and the beautiful, perfect lives of everyone else. So all those emotions I experience right out of like the slumber of sleeping for 8 hours.
Okay.
Which is great.
All right. Nice.
Then I take a shower and then I'm ready to go for life.
I wonder if you've ever had this debate: morning shower versus nighttime shower.
Great question. I do a morning shower. There's no way I can. First, I have like this hair, and if I don't, like, you don't want to see how it looks when I wake up.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I feel like I'm dirty if I don't shower in the morning, even if I'm not. If that makes sense. That's all.
Yeah. I used to be an evening shower girl, and then I grew up and I was like, no, I need to shower first thing in the morning. It wakes me up. If I don't shower, I'm not really awake.
Hi, David.
Hey, Nico. Congratulations on your work, and Helen, congratulations on your work, and thanks for having me. I'm always very flattered when people want to hear my opinions and on things. So thank you for
It's an honor. We started every episode with like what we call a proof of life, which is like, how are you right now? How are you this second?
Listen, I'm good. I say that, and I mean this with every part of me. I'm perpetually grateful. I don't lose sight of the fact that the work that I get to do in this world is a privilege. I get to show up for this world. I get to show up for my creativity, and I get to, lead by inspiration, but I'm also inspired by other people. So, every day, man, I remain very, very grateful. I write gratitude lists, on a multi-weekly basis. I have daily prayer no matter what. First thing I do when I wake up in the morning is, I get on my knees and I talk to God before I turn on my phone, before I do anything. It's just something that I've done perfectly for over 8 years. So it's little things like this. Things aren't always the way that you want them to be. Life is always in session, as we say. But I think that right now things are exactly as they're supposed to be.
Yeah. No, that's nice. It's nice to hear you have somewhat of a positive attitude right now when things are so slow. And I mean, what do you say to people when they ask you? I'm sure they ask you, what do you think of the state of the industry right now? I'm curious to hear what you think, because it is very slow on.
I mean, what do I always think of the state of the industry? Whether you want to go back to the 60s where people of color rarely got opportunities in front of the camera, right? If you want to go back to when I first moved to Hollywood in 2004, where being Latinx wasn't even a category and Afro-Latinos didn't even exist as far as Hollywood was concerned. And to a certain degree, they still don't. If you want to go back to the beginning of the writer's strike, and then we go back a couple of years where it's like writer's strike, director, there's always something going on in Hollywood.
It was always shit.
Listen, there's always something going on in Hollywood, which is working against the layman, right? I say very, very casually often that Hollywood is like a casino. It's designed to make you fail. It literally is. You walk into a casino, you're betting against the house, and the house always wins. And Hollywood operates the same way. So we have a couple of choices. We can look at Hollywood from a place of scarcity, or we can look at it from a place of abundance. Now, do I agree with you that statistically, mathematically, production is down 20 to 25% in Los Angeles? Sure, productions are running away to foreign territories. And, if you are not a head of department and you're below the line, it's incredibly challenging. If you're a craftsman, if you are a caterer, if you are someone that works in janitorial services, if you are one of these below the line positions that is not a head, it's very, very difficult. I'm not taking that away from anyone, but as for what I do, I'm an above the line person. So I'm, actor, writer, producer, director. So it's just as hard for me, but I have to work within the confines of the game that's being played around me. If you're on the football field and it starts to rain and the grass is muddy, what are you going to do? Not play? You're going to play.
Yeah.
David, you are always creating new projects and starting the projects yourself, right? I'm really interested in that part of your career because it sounds like you create your own opportunities. We talk a lot about that here in the podcast. I think that kind of the ethos of what we started here was to say, all right, even with the difficulties that we face, like can we leverage the community that we have around us here in LA, which is still intact? Like there's so many people here that are so talented, and create something with them, get something off the ground, not wait for an opportunity. And I think that you embody that a little bit. And I really want to hear about that part of you and how do you tackle that?
Well, thank you. It's a great question, and I think that the question that you're asking is the solve to the previous question,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
So, what do you do when Hollywood isn't working with you or for you? Well, you create opportunities for yourself, so you're not so trapped in these exterior forces that are bothering your spirit. I always tell whether you're a beginning actor, creator, whatever you're doing, is that I say you can't do the big things without the little things. But what are you doing on Monday morning to get yourself out of bed that's keeping you creative, that's giving you purpose? Because we can think about the macro, and I can worry about why I'm not getting the audition, and why this manager doesn't want to call me back, or why this literary agent thinks I'm shit, whatever that is. Okay. And on the other side of that, I'm writing a short script. I'm writing a pitch proposal. I'm going to people within my space that are at my creative level. So I was just talking to my line producer about the first major feature I produced that, at the time got licensed by Hulu many years ago. It's called All Out Dysfunction. And I wrote it, produced it, and I was like number 3 or 4 on the call sheet. And I delivered it for like 95 grand, like completely in the can. And it's great. It's still on Apple TV. It's hilarious. It's dark as fuck. But at that time, I was a guy who needed to get, my third major feature completed. But I was also surrounded by DPs and art directors and production designers and grips and first ACs and operators that also wanted experience on a feature. So you work with people that are at your level. And as you mentioned, create that community of people that want to create with you because they know that you're going to deliver, and you're going to deliver at the highest level possible for where you are in your career. And you can get people to work for very little, sometimes nothing, in the independent space. I have colleagues right now that are literally in the middle. I have a friend that's directing a $10,000 feature as we speak. And so there's no excuse. So the final piece of that is that when you are creating, whether it's a $500 short or a $5,000 short or a $10,000 feature, when you're creating, you don't have time to worry about what Hollywood isn't doing for you because you're feeding yourself.
I couldn't agree more, man. I think that to me, it feels like getting stuck is about not having anything that I know that I can execute on, right? Because as you're saying before, I think playing the game is necessary and sometimes exciting, but you can get lost in it. I mean, I think we both share this with Helen. At the same time, we're trying to create something or do something that is always within reach and we can actually get our hands in and actually we know that it will happen. I speak for Helen because I think you, Helen, do the same thing, right? Like you create your show, you do your things, and I go to a theater and I see what Helen had created, and I'm like so proud because it's like she made it happen, right? She was playing the game. She's a writer, but then also you were creating that thing, and I think that's kind of the same situation.
Yeah. I guess I do wonder, though, at what point in your career, David, were you able to kind of stop self-funding, I guess, your projects?
That's a good question.
Never?
Literally never. Literally never. I mean, even on
bad news.
Yeah, like
That's really bad news.
I mean, even even on Razor, like
Wait. Tell us a little bit about what Razor was for people who doesn't have context of it.
Well, just to answer your question, so I'll say even on my latest major project, Razor, which I will talk about, that ultimately got nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award. Even on that project, my production company put 6 figures into the budget.
Damn.
And so you never stop investing in yourself, in terms of.
You're saying something there that I feel is interesting. It's like maybe you create a fund that you collected from previous projects, and now suddenly you are a financier, right? So you never stop self-funding, but it doesn't mean you're paying from your saving, like your retirement.
Yeah.
No, you're working with the house money that you made on the previous project.
That's
hopefully.
Correct. Like, yeah, if you look at like people like Cassavetes, like what was he doing? He was an actor, but he was using his money as an actor that was then being recycled into his projects with a 16 millimeter Bolex, so that's kind of the recycling machine that I'm trying to create now.
Yeah.
I mean, even this project that I mentioned a while ago, All Out Dysfunction, I mean, that was, you know, we did that for 95 grand, but I raised money from other people. It wasn't all self-funded. And that was predicated off the back of my body of work that had led up to that point. I had already produced cool enough shit where I could convince someone to give me $10,000 because even though they knew they probably weren't going to get it back, they're like, you know what? I believe in this guy. I've seen what he's done. He's going to make something cool. Here's a check, right? There's a lot of people out there that have disposable income. You just have to find them. And so to your point,
look at her face. It's like, wait, say that again. I need to write this.
Where are they? Where are they? Just tell me where they are.
there's a lot of people out there that have disposable income. We're in a crypto bull run right now.
Offline, we can talk. You can give us names.
I'll give you names, zip codes, blood type.
Name.
But yes, to your question about Razor. So Razor is it's an 8-episode short form series that I'm the writer, creator, executive producer, and I play the lead. And it stars myself, Mena Suvari, who's nominated for a BAFTA, and also for this series particularly was nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award. Emilio Rivera, Richard Cabral, Danny Trejo, Mimi Davila, Christopher Marquette Rodriguez. So it's a really, really powerful cast. And it was the first project that launched a new platform called Gala Film. So they are essentially the financier, but also the distribution platform. So I've worked heavily in the NFT space and in the blockchain space going back to 2021. I was the first person to mint a one-of-one art house film as an NFT. That auctioned successfully. I donated tens of thousands, I think almost $100,000 to nonprofits because I'm a socially conscious artist. Make art that I think is artivistic and that can change the world. And so through that process, I got deeply involved in smart contracts and what blockchain can do. So that's how I ended up getting involved with this company called Gala Film. Now, when I got involved with them and I pitched them the story, they're like, okay, great. Yeah, I would love to see a deck. Can you send me a deck? And I was like, look, it's this great story. It's like Black Mirror meets Mr. Robot. It's got Blade Runner injected into it. And they said, yeah, send me a deck. I said, great. Let me get it to you tomorrow. I'll tighten it up. I had no deck. I had no idea. I didn't know the name of the story. I didn't know the lead character's name. I knew nothing about the world. I kind of had an idea. Like I knew that I wanted to create something that looked like something I would want to watch. And so I punched it up. I just got to work. The next day I sent the deck over with a visual lookbook. 2 weeks later, they greenlit it. Now you could sit back and say, oh my God, that's an angelic story. And yes, it is lightning in a bottle, but you know, Nico and Helen, that was predicated off the back of being an independent producer for 20 years already. Mm-hmm. So I knew how to put together a lookbook. I knew how sharp to make a deck, but that conversation with Gala Film was predicated off the back of the fact that my reel as a producer and as a director was already very polished.
Nice.
So it's like, yeah, luck is circumstance meets preparation, right? Yeah. But it's like those 20 years of being an independent producer that led to creating really polished, high concept work that a company like Gala was willing to look at me and give me millions of dollars to make something.
That's great. That's really cool. Congrats. That's huge. But what do you say to people who are like, you can't be great at all the things. You have to pick one lane. You're either an actor, a writer, a director. Like we as artists know that you have to be all of it. But was there ever a moment where you hesitated in being all of the titles that you are?
Yeah. I remember a hilarious moment when I first moved to LA. I had a business card and it was like writer, director, actor, producer, photographer, poet. It's like, and somebody looked at me. They looked at my card. They're like,
sounds like the only thing you dropped was poet, and I'm disappointed. David, why?
Well, I am still a poet. I mean, I'll always be a poet. Look, I'm an artist first, right? And so whether it's writing, acting, directing, producing, these are just different avenues by which I express that artistry. In Hollywood, being a multi-hyphenate is a very rare thing. Because in the beginning, when you're like, it's $500 short, yeah, of course you're the writer, director, producer, actor. Of course, like you don't have resources. But when you get to, 80, 100 person crews, and you're dealing with stuff at a very high level, there are very few people in Hollywood that are true multi-hyphenates that can execute at a high level in every aspect of that multi-hyphenism. So if you look at the work that I did on Razor, for example, I did all that shit and I did it well in every aspect of that creativity. And when I look at the contemporary canon, you get to $5, $10, $20 million budgets. Who's doing it well? Matthew McConaughey's doing it well. Ben Affleck does it incredibly well. Damon does it incredibly well. Bradley Cooper is just exceptional in his multi-hyphenism. And so when you get to that level, Margot Robbie is exceptional at it, but there are very few that can do it at a very high level. And so to answer your question, is just like, do what speaks to your spirit and do what makes you feel in purpose. Because at the end of the day, they don't sleep with you at night. You sleep alone in your mind, in your head, in your conscious. You're the one that has to wake up every day and move forward.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I'm not worried about what other people are thinking. It's more so just like
Time.
There's only so many hours in the day. All the people that you mentioned are people who made it through acting first and foremost. So it's like, okay, is there something behind that? Is there maybe something that I should learn from that, where I should just channel my energy into one thing, make it through there, and then go, do all the other things that I want to do? Like, for example, I am a TV writer. I also direct. I have a mentor over at NBC, and I went to him and I was like, look, I really want to direct TV. Do you think it's something I should pursue? And he was just very honest and was like, it's incredibly hard to break into TV as a director. But it's also like right now, TV writing is so slow and the jobs, they're very few. So, yeah.
So I think, okay, look, if you were a TV writer, right? All right. If you're a TV writer, if you're like, okay, I'm a TV writer and I want to be an actor, I'm like, okay, you're really fucking up. Like, you're really parting the Red Sea pretty far. Because in the world of TV, they want session writers. They want people that are going to come in and day play. You're going to get into a writer's room. But what I would advise to you is continue to be a TV writer to the best of your ability, because eventually you'll become a supervising writer. Eventually you'll become a co-producing writer, and eventually you'll be an EP, and then you could just put yourself in the fucking director's chair.
Exactly.
Right. Now that may be 10 years from now, but you're a young woman. You got a whole life ahead of you, so I say that you stay on that trajectory. If you,
I think that's interesting, because what you're saying is build from something, right?
Yes.
Build off of something. Because I see a lot of people trying so many things at the same time and not succeeding in any particular part of those things, and it's very hard to build a foundation of a career if you don't have something to show for. If you start like constant and spread out thin, it becomes really hard to be kind of like step into something solid. It seems like you started as an actor, right? That's you have enormous amount of credits and very cool shows and movies, right? I would say, okay, when I see your career, I'm go like, oh, I see this. It's an actor. He's a very professional actor that, of course, because he's entrepreneurial, has seen opportunities that stem out. This is my perception. I'm not saying this is your career, but it's when I look at your career, it seems like, right, he, based on the platform that acting gave him, now he's creating all these other things because he has these ideas, right? And he found himself to have talents. But to Helen's point, I think building off of something, right? It seems important to getting very good at something before you start branching out into other things. It's so hard to master anything.
Yeah, and Helen, I applaud you for diving in where you're diving in and continue to doing what you're doing. And Nico, you're absolutely right. The thing is with me, like, I just have hustle in my system. I don't know how to not hustle. And so if you go back to 2004, when I first moved to LA, I was a waiter and a bartender for 15 years. I got my SAG card doing extra work. I just wanted to do whatever I could to be close to it. But I produced my first professional short film in Los Angeles, which was a short film told entirely in spoken word poetry that was very experimental, very niche, that ended up playing festivals all over the world and performed quite well, that we did for $500. So I started producing things that I could act in 2004, 2005. So for me, I was always an actor first, but I started creating things that I can act in because my commercial agent wasn't getting me the opportunities. I didn't really have a proper theatrical agent. And again, being ethnically ambiguous in 2004 wasn't a good thing. You were either white, you were black, or you were Latino. And Latino, you had to look like Antonio Banderas. And so as a result of that, I just kept creating opportunities for myself as an actor. The acting part was always the driving oracle. The creativity around the incubation of producing film was a side effect of my lack of opportunities as an actor. And then over the course of 15, 20 years of sharpening my knives, I just became a really fucking good producer. And I was never given the gift of money. And so when it comes to projects like Razor, and I tell people what we spent on it, they fall out of their chairs, because I come from a school of working with less to making it look fantastic, as opposed to having abundance and just derailing money and spending egregiously.
Yeah. And today, I'm just curious, what would you say is your favorite role to inhabit? Do you like acting more than producing, or do you like producing more these days?
Yeah, to be quite honest, I don't love producing.
Yeah.
I don't. It's not fun. It's a thankless job. It's highly administrative. It requires a lot of reading, a lot of legalese. It's a part of the brain that isn't necessarily creative. People talk to me, why am I a good producer? Because I'm a good salesman. People talk to me about what is producing. Producing isn't fucking art, guys. Producing is sales.
Yeah.
Because I have to sell the project to get the money to actually get to the art. Now, once the money is in the bank, then the line producer and the UPM is going to take care of the granular financial aspects of it. And then I get to be a creative producer and I get to build a world and bring it to life. I really, really enjoy that.
Yeah.
But I have what it takes to go from idea to screen. Most people don't have that.
Yeah.
It's a very daunting process. And everybody in this room knows how daunting that process is. Now, I'm currently working on a major Netflix show that I can't talk about as an actor. And I'm very blessed to be working on this particular show. When I get hired as an actor and I'm given the honor of helping paint somebody else's portrait, it's an incredible honor. But I will concede that there is a large part of my creative engine that isn't being serviced, right? Because
I'm really interested in hearing you talk about the different kinds of producing, because I think that gets confused, especially in the independent realm where like everything is overlapping, right? What is interesting, I hear you say, is like you almost have three kinds of producers, like or three hats you have to wear as a producer, like salesman, right? Getting funding, fundraising. The second would be the clerical work, right? The coming down to contracts to understand. Even like you can dive into line producing, which is like even more extraneous, which is like, okay, spreadsheets with like who's bringing crafty if you are in that a very independent level. And finally, like a creative producer, that sounds like the most glamorous thing, which is not that different than being a director. And in Hollywood, we have times where creative producers have been even more important than directors, right? That comes in waves. There's been, in the 80s and 90s, I think, especially the 80s, like the producers were everything. They would bring the idea, they would hire everyone, they would be the author of the whole thing, right? Like the orchestra director. Do you find that you have to break those roles down to different people, or do you think that one can embody all the roles? If you're creating something, I mean, I'm talking about grassroots, small,
sure, yeah,
independent production.
I think it's an incredible question. And the truth is, Nico, is that most people don't know what producers do. They just don't. I mean, even some heads of even some grips in LA probably don't really know what producers do, even some PAs, So to your point, if we're working, let's just talk about a short film that's 10,000 and under. Right? If that's the space that you're in, and I'm assuming that's who this audience is predominantly, the independent world, you're going to be doing them all, right? So you are going to be the creative producer initially, which is going to be the person that's going to say, this is the script that I want to create. Okay, great. So then there's the business aspect of it where you have to figure out the budget. So you have to break down that script, which means you have to schedule it. And you have to create a line item budget for it on a granular level, all the way down to overtime and fringes and locations and contingencies and all those things. And if you don't know what that shit means, use the internet. And so then now at that point, you're the line producer, theoretically. And now that you know how much it costs, then you've got to say, how am I going to get 10 grand? Then you got to turn into the salesman and you got to create a visual lookbook and also now attach a director, which is slightly creative producing. And then maybe the DP that will come vis-a-vis the director, or maybe vis-a-vis yourself. And that's creative producing while you're world building. And then you're either going to have an Indiegogo campaign, a Kickstarter campaign, some sort of crowdfunding situation where you're the salesman. You got to create the creative assets for that. So that's also creative producing, but you're still theoretically executive producing. And you haven't even gotten to day one of photography yet. You haven't even gotten to casting yet. So there are so many different layers. Now, when you get to the larger budget, because you get into the millions of dollars, then it's a very different thing. I come in, so where I am, so if I'm making a multi-million-dollar independent feature, initially I come in as the executive producer who has the script. This is what I want to make. I'm bringing the director, I'm attaching a director, but now there's sort of attaching talent or going for tax credits, and you're getting the initial funding in to be able to sort of get the development process going. And then as you get to principal photography, then you switch hats and you become the creative producer, or not. Maybe you're a person that all you do is you package projects, right? There are a lot of men and women out there that don't show up on set and don't want to show up on set. They're numbers people. Their whole world is debt finance, and they take percentages off the back of debt financing, and they're executive producers, and that's what they do. I call them the most conservative people in film. I call them, people that work in debt financing. So it really depends on what level of producing that you're at. But the great news about all this stuff for anyone that's in the independent space is that this is all part of defining who you are as an artist. It's all about the self-discovery. I had to fall forward over and over and over again to learn the things that I'm speaking about right now. When I was in theater school, there was no film program. I didn't learn this through a text. I learned this trial by fire. You know, my first short film, I didn't even know what a production designer did. I just know how to rally people. And so
It's probably the most important thing.
that is the most important part. Listen, hear me now, believe me later. The truth is that movies and TV shows are not made with money. They're made with inspiration. Money follows inspiration. Period. Any major lit manager or lit agent in this town will tell you the same thing. If you can't go into a room and sway a room of people that that this project is the one that deserves to be funded, and you are the leader that is going to push that boulder up the hill, over the hill, down the hill, over the river, and through the fucking woods. If you can't convince a room of people that you're that person, you're never going to get funded.
Yeah.
Period.
No, period. I went to an event not too long ago at Netflix, and it was with a bunch of showrunners. And one of the pieces of advice that I got from a showrunner was your job is to convince those people who are the buyers that buying your project is like the easiest thing for them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just convince them it's the thing they want to do. It's easy. It's going to be good. It's going to be great. And like what you just said, it's time for only good news. And this is when we like to just remind ourselves that in this world that can sometimes feel bleak, there are some good things. So whether it's some good news that happened to you, David, or just good news that you read about online, Nico, really briefly, can you guys share some good news to give me something to look forward to?
Only good news. David, start.
Okay, I was gonna pass the football to you, but
I'll do it if you want.
Good news. Good news is the show that I'm currently working on. I'm so grateful that I get to again be a part of somebody else's creativity at a very high level, and this is a big show, and you guys will hear about it in the coming months. And I track all my auditions. So in 2024, I know every audition I've been on going back to like 2009, down to the casting director. Casting director and the associate. Like I know everything.
Wow.
I track everything. So in 2024, I auditioned 54 times. That's an average of just over an audition a week. And that's not including commercial auditions. So I had a very busy year in 2024. Now, 16 of those 54 times, I either got pinned, I was put on a veil, or I went to showrunners and tested. 16 times. Not a single one went my way. That's how emotionally punishing, Hollywood can be as an artist and as an actor specifically, because you put your heart and soul into a self-tape, and it's the only job in the world where they make you do the job before they give you the job. Every other job, they look at your resume, you have a chat, and they hire you, right? So with all that being said, when I got the call to do this job, I wept. I'm not kidding you.
Oh, I believe you. Yeah.
I literally I didn't ugly cry, but
I don't believe you.
I really got emotional because I was just like, God, thank you for the opportunity to give me not validation, but to continue to keep me on the path to greatness. And that to me is really good news. And so I want to inspire all the actors out there that this really is a numbers game.
Yep.
If you look at Babe Ruth, he bat like 333, which means he only hit the ball a third of the time.
Damn.
And that's a high batting average. Wow. So just keep showing up. And everything you're asking for is going to show up. Seth Rogen said this the other day, and I'll finish this thought. He says, the common denominator with people that make it versus people that don't make it is the people that make it never give up.
Yep. It's who survives until the very end.
Congratulations, man. That sounds very inspiring to hear
Thanks, man.
for everybody who's trying and failing, which is most of the time, and everybody. And I think at every level, I think people forget that at every level, people are trying and failing. Like even at the highest level, when you talk to a big director, they tell you all the things they cannot get done and made. And it's like, are you kidding me? Is you having problems? What about us? It's like everybody's having to struggle through trial and error and trying to get things done. Helen, do you want me to go? I'll go. So we've been talking about David, you don't know this. We've been talking about this because my short film, Border Hopper, that premiered last year, right in November, got an award that is Oscar qualifying. So what means is that this year, a year later, the short film is in the long list, right? And what we call the long list, which doesn't exist, but it qualifies for the Oscars. Now, what comes immediately after learning that good news is that you got to do a campaign for the Oscars on a short film. And what the next piece of news is very fucking expensive. You talk to PR people and they tell you about it, and it's way more expensive than your short film. And we have established a figure around the top figure for the short list. So you're pushed to get in the short list of the Oscars, which is 15 shorts out of 170, right? That compete every year for the long list is about $60,000. which for a short is exorbitant. So for a minute, we were like, should we do it or not? Like, should we put this into a productive place and we do another film, or should we go for the campaign? It's a once in a lifetime opportunity that you do a short, it gets this well received, and then you get to do this campaign. So we decided to go for it, and we started looking for investors. We secured some funding. That's my good news.
That's good news.
Right? And one thing that now is like, I think it gives us a fighting chance to get a little bit more money and then do it. So
yeah,
I'm gonna keep reporting on how it works on doing this campaign for a short film.
What is the maximum amount of money that you want to invest in this? Your own funding.
This is a gambler's, what do they call it? Gambler's fallacy. Like, once you start putting down money on this shit, it's like, it's gonna be very hard to say, I don't want to do it anymore, especially if you get any progress. Like, so if you get to the short list, then a world opens up where like you're now in and you have to, keep spending. So we'll see. I mean, this is like, are you talking about casinos? This is the most extreme way, I would say, of casinos is, all right, how can I be realistic about the expectations that I set for myself? What is a good amount of money that you spend? And what is the return of investment on something like that, right? So hopefully, and this is the story I'm telling myself, hopefully if we do the campaign, even, let's say we're really, really think that we have a shot at the short list and we're really hopeful. But even if we don't, I think, okay, well, what is an amount of money that would be cool to get some visibility, get the short in front of people, regardless of the outcome, right? So is that a return of investment, even if we don't make it? And if we make it, that's already amazing. And then we're going to have to ask ourselves, what is the next phase? And we're going to probably have to bring new investors, because I think the closer you are to win an Oscar, the more friends you have. It's very hard to convince people when you're still running for it. But I think if you make the short list, we're giving credits of co-producers to people who want to join. So that's hopefully the incentive for people to participate.
Yeah, let's have a side conversation about that. Speaking of the Emmy on Razor, that Emmy was literally the side effect of massive amounts of hustle that I created myself. So when I produced Razor and I executed a really attractive show, I was then able to convince Gala to fund a 4-year consideration campaign. So I've been a member of the Television Academy for 9 years, and I was acutely aware of the short form category. And so I knew at the writing stage, even when we were writing the first page of the script, I told my writing partner, I was like, bro, we're going to win a fucking Emmy. And he was like, no, we're not. I was like, yo, I see it. But I was able to convince Gala to write, a $200,000 check. And for a 4-year consideration campaign, that is nothing, because just, we were the first short form to screen at the headquarters of the Television Academy. And the Television Academy, they tried to talk me out of it. They're like, David, this is a really big room. It's really expensive. It's short form. A short form independent had never screened there before in the history of the Television Academy. I said, guys, let me do my job. I put 700 people in that building, packed it, sold it out.
David, we need you in our life.
So, so there's a lot of interesting ways that you can mobilize to create a campaign where some of these sexy PR dollars don't need to be spent, because PR, they don't know how to save money. They know how to spend money. They don't know how to burn money. They don't know how to use money. So I'll publicly say it. I have a great publicist, but I publicly say it, be cautious with PR, because most of it's a fucking cash.
Oh, I've been around. Helen, what are your good news?
Your hair looks great.
Thank you.
My hair is great. I have good news for you. The existence of Princess Marfa.
Her eyes are really pretty.
Listen, all right, Helen, I'm gonna give you some good news. The good news is who you are as a human being and who you are in terms of your diligence, because, look, you reached out to me coldly on TikTok. I responded, we've had some scheduled knickknacks here and there, and you have stayed on top of it and you've managed it with grace. That to me is good news, because those are the foundations of what it takes to be successful in this fucking game.
Yeah.
Oh, she will.
No, and I was just being humble. Like, if I needed to come up with some good news, I would have come up with some good news, but I want to keep us on schedule. But before we jump into how did they make it, I did want to talk to you about branding as a creative, because I think that it's something that Nico and I have been talking about recently, where I'm not really good at coming up with my brand. I feel like, David, you are good at that. At what point in your career did you realize, oh shoot, I have to be able to sell myself, like myself?
Mm-hmm.
And then how long did it take you to actually like hone in on that and start doing it?
I mean, I've always been, thank you for the kind words. And I think I'm not that great at it, to be honest, compared to the larger world out there. I've always been someone who's been open to showboat myself. Going all the way back to second grade, acting out TV commercials on the swing set with other kids in the neighborhood. Being an actor, it's kind of like what you have to do. You're an entrepreneur unto yourself. And when you're a self-made entrepreneur, you have to be your own marketing department with whatever resources that you have. So I've always been interested in presenting myself in a very polished way. So I was a rave promoter for 9 years. And when you're a rave promoter, the front line of getting people to your event is your flyer, the graphics, the lineup, the symmetry of the DJs, all the information, the color palette, all those things, the card stock you're using at the time. This is like late 90s when I was producing these raves. So it's like, self-promotion is just part of it. But I'm also an idea guy. So I'm always interested in like putting ideas out there and reminding people that I'm just an everyday man who's just out here hustling just like anybody else. So I try to come from a place of authenticity. I try to come from a place of just real honesty that hopefully people can relate to.
Okay. So you're not necessarily on social media trying to brand yourself as the action movie guy.
No. I think that the real, so speaking about time, it's like, if you're an influencer, if that's what you aspire to be, then be that.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole job in and of itself. Shooting new content every single day and deploying that on TikTok and farming partnerships and doing collabs with that's a whole job. You can't break down a script and think about funding a multi-million-dollar project if that's your job. So to the people out there that are actually succeeding in social media, I applaud them, because people don't realize how much work it actually is.
No, I mean, that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah.
It seems like you just contradicted yourself, because I feel like you have such a good social media presence, but you're also like doing real work. So it's like, how are you dividing your time? Like, how are you actually able to do that?
Well, again, I don't think that I'm doing a good enough job. I think I'm not doing a good enough job of it.
You do it yourself?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, yeah, I just do it myself.
You don't hire someone to like do the clips and put them out
No,
there?
no. I mean, if I'm, now mind you, if I'm deep in production, like when I'm working, like when I was in production on Razor, I don't have time to do it myself. Right now I'm in sort of development, right? So my schedule isn't that demanding where it's like I'm working 14-hour days and I'm sleeping 3 hours a night. You know what I mean? So I, for the most part, I just kind of do it myself. Like I also find that like AI is a great opportunity. Like a lot of the editorial AI can just do for you.
Mhm.
A lot of the script writing AI can do for you. So you can really sort of like, cut the corners to kind of make it a little bit more streamlined.
We do that as well. But I think my question remains like, okay, do we need to be investing time as writers and actors and producers into our social media presence because we think it's going to get us more opportunities? Like, is that the reason you operate on social media, David?
I operate on social media because I'm an actor. Like in my mind, if you're an actor and you're not out there in the social space, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. If you are a thought leader and you are not out in the social space, you are doing yourself a disservice. Not everybody is a front person and not everybody's a thought leader. Like if you're a screenwriter, many screenwriters are introverts and they don't want to be out there, and that's okay. So whenever we remove something, we invariably make space for something else. So if that's the case, then just focus hyper on your writing and focus hyper on getting scripts made and getting the right reps so you can get into the right rooms and continue working and doing what you need to do. Because being transparent for the world to see all the time is not for everyone. Most people
can backfire if you don't do it right.
It can backfire. It backfires every day. We see people, their social medias are getting, raked, and they said something 5 years ago that they shouldn't have said. So I'm also very cautious, and I'm also very aware that my social media doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the world, because once you're a public figure, it's no longer your platform. You're creating content for your audience. And so it's also a matter of hopefully giving information out that I believe my audience wants to receive.
Yeah. And I think it's also like a personal matter, right? Like if you yourself don't necessarily want to invest the time in becoming viral on TikTok and becoming one of those filmmakers who, makes films for TikTok, maybe that's just something you just have to accept. And I'm talking mostly to myself because I don't think I have the energy to invest into my social media presence.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very, very tempting when you see these young filmmakers get film deals based on their TikTok presence.
Well, yeah, but keep in mind, those young filmmakers, when you're, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, you don't really have much better to do. You're not paying your own rent. You're not working a 40-hour week. You don't gotta cover a nut, if you will. Because I remember, when you were 14, 15, 16, like, what were you doing that you were so immersed? We knew every pop artist, you knew every musician, you knew everything about everything that was pop culture because that was your world. So TikTok is people's worlds nowadays. If you're an independent filmmaker out there right now, like I would highly be thinking about getting involved in like micro verticals. Like micro verticals are fucking going moon right now in China, and they're about to go moon in America. And if you want to be able to make films at a very, very cheap way and potentially monetize, that's where you go.
I think that we should dedicate a whole episode about this because it's coming from everywhere, and it's been soap operas, but now it's changing to dramas and being more sophisticated.
That's right.
Nico's wife has been working in the vertical space, right, Nico?
Yeah, and that's the only game in town, and she was just invited to do another one yesterday. So it is something that you hear over and over and over. I think that I wonder if there's space to create something cool, right? What we consider cool out of it. And I think so. I think it's a canvas. You can use it for anything you want.
Yeah, Nico, I'd love to have a side conversation with you about that because, I look at like the micro rom-coms and I'm like, I can't make that shit. I need to sleep at night. You know what I mean? But there is a world where, really smart filmmakers can come together for very little money, act just because we know how to deliver. Yeah. So let's have a side conversation about that because I've been thinking about that because at the end of the day, look, raising $3, $4, $5 million for a movie is very hard. And if that doesn't work, I'm just going to keep moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We also have a segment called How Did They Make It? And we like to break down people's careers and see how they made it. But the statement making it, right? It's something that Nico and I talk about a lot. It's like, do you ever make it? I don't think so. I think being on the journey is already making it. I think I'm someone who likes to claim that I've already made it because I've already reached one of my huge goals. Obviously have more. But David, how do you feel about making it? Do you not like aspiring to one specific moment? How do you,
I agree with what you just said, Helen, and that there is no there. Yeah. Right. There's no Wizard of Oz that we're going to meet and everything happens. And then my life is content and I can go to heaven and hang out with St. Peter. There is, even on Tuesday, the Oscar winner from Sunday eventually says, okay, now what? Right. And so as it relates to what you said, I think that I'm always on the journey. I don't think that there is a made it because everything is relative. Right. I've got a series that has done really, really well, and I'm a self-sustaining artist. I don't have to work in the service industry anymore. I could argue that at this point I've made it. If you can make a healthy career, a self-sustaining career in this business, I think you've made it. But then once you do that, you're going to look at the series regular who's making $120,000 an episode, and you're like, man, I haven't made it yet. But then that series regular is looking at an A24 film and saying, why can't I be that?
Exactly.
And so
yeah.
You're always
and that's why you're not going to make it. And I keep saying this because it's a metaphor for actually never making it, because you are always changing your mind, and then you should be content with the process, and you should be trying to connect yourself with the joy of creating things and getting them out, and that should be sufficient. That is making it.
Yes, but we also have to be self-aware when we're going for like the Oscar, because we change our minds, right? Like we say, oh yeah, we've made it. But then it's like, no, we also do want the Oscar, Like that, I think for a lot of people is we've made it.
Yeah, of course.
And I need something about that. I know Oscar Award winners that really struggled after that. Like they had an Oscar, and then the Oscar they got wasn't particularly good for them because they could not, like, the story that the Oscar told was not the story that they could sustain. Yeah. And that created a contradiction. Like it's always a challenge. But yeah, I would love to win an Oscar, guys. They're gonna put it out there in the universe. They're gonna manifest that.
Yes, yeah, and as you should. And I think, and I believe that you have the potential to do it. You're already in the running, so congratulations. The idea of making it is I think it's really, really quite simple. We look at success, and success, in my experience, is measured in a very simple format. Success is peace. It's very simple, because somewhere in Costa Rica, there's a guy who lives in a 12 by 12 with a corrugated aluminum roof, and he sells fruta, and he has 2 kids that he's proud of. And then somewhere in Malibu on Thanksgiving, there's a guy who with a shotgun in his mouth. And so, that may sound very grim, but it's very fucking real. And so when you look at those two worlds, the financial disparity is gargantuan.
Yeah.
But one is in absolute misery and the other one has contentment and peace. And so I say that, and I use that very dark imagery because success is truly an inside job.
Yeah.
It's how do you define yourself as a human being and where you are at that moment and say, do I feel content and do I have peace with where I am in my life and the things that I've achieved?
Yeah.
And because you can't take any of this stuff with you. You can only take with you the person you have become.
Have you always been this wise, or was there a moment where it clicked for you that this was the new kind of POV that you had to have in order to continue to have a long career?
Everything that I see and experience now is a direct result of my sobriety. I'm now just over eight and a quarter years sober. And so the contact lens by which I see the world emotionally, physically, and spiritually is completely circumvented through that.
Yeah.
And so the degree of gratitude and the degree of sort of like spiritual emotional awareness I have is because of the work that I do and the work that I've had to do on myself to get me where I am now. Because for many, many years, I was very, very self-serving. I was all about me, 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 me. I used to hoard contracts. I would hoard ideas. I wouldn't share anything. And, Danny Trejo said it best. I say this a lot. He's like, man, everything that's good in my life, David, is a result of helping somebody else. And it's very real.
I love that guy.
There's enough to give. So if we can just continue to give, I think that you will find a place of contentment and you'll find a place of happiness.
I'll be myself now who take us back on track because we have 5 more minutes. So what I want to do is to go into the last segment, which is what are we watching? And I want to give you, David, if you have anything you're watching and you're excited about, or maybe you're too busy to watch anything, but if you are, let us know. What are you watching right now on TV? What are you reading? Anything that touched you lately that you can share with us?
I think the most exciting thing that I've seen recently is F1.
The movie?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to watch it.
Did we talk about F1, Helen? No, we didn't because we didn't watch it, right?
Very problematic, but I do want to watch it.
It is so good.
What is?
I mean,
problematic?
You know Brad Pitt is problematic?
Oh, okay. He's broadly problematic. He's not specifically for F1.
I'm just saying it for myself.
Yeah.
But
I see. Well, I think you can watch it and separate it.
I think you got to get out of your own way on that one.
Watch it just because I need to talk to you about it, and I want to talk about this because it's an interesting case study.
It's a very, very, very special film. I recently had the opportunity to listen to Joseph Kosinski talk about it. And I mean, we're talking about a movie that accrued 6,000 hours of raw footage.
6,000 hours?
Like, they developed specific cameras that were built into the chassis of the F1 vehicles with these sensors and recording modulation devices built within the body, because every single ounce that goes onto one of these vehicles could throw the calibration off, right? And some of these cameras that they developed are actually now being used by F1 in their live broadcast capture technology. And, Brad Pitt, he drove that vehicle himself. That film is a masterclass on high octane action performance. I mean, it makes Top Gun look like child's play.
Wow.
It's
directed it?
Joseph Kosinski.
What else has he done? Or they done?
Top Gun.
I like how you think I should just know this.
Not so around.
He's been around. It's been around, yeah.
If you're a fan of British dark comedies, I have been watching.
I am.
I've been watching this BAFTA winner called Am I Being Unreasonable? It's a BBC show and highly recommend it. It's really dark. It's about a woman who is married and she ends up having an affair with the brother, and the brother ends up dying. And so secrets unravel, and it's just very funny. There's this kid. Oh my God, this kid in the show steals the show. He's so funny. I love it. You should check it out.
If you like that, watch Such Brave Girls. Hilarious.
I recommend it so much.
Hilarious.
No one else watches it. David, you're like the first person who I know.
I'm all about that. Like Harlots was fucking incredible. Sex Education, incredible. All these really smart, like Brit salty comedies. I love them.
Love.
You just gave me 2 shows to watch. I'm very excited.
Okay. Did y'all watch Weapons?
Not yet. I'm gonna see it this week.
You guys gotta watch it.
I watched.
I'm going to
Barbarian. It was great.
Barbarian. We'll talk about Barbarian. I will watch it in the DGA next weekend. So anybody who wants to come, it's invited. In my life, unfortunately, I can't invite everyone, but I can invite my friends.
Did you guys watch Longwoods?
Yes.
I only recently watched this past weekend, and that was so creepy. I couldn't sleep the following night.
Oh my God.
Oh, really? Oh.
I woke up at 3, you guys. I woke up at 3. I was like, this is the most satanic hour to be awake right now.
That's so interesting. I want to keep talking about this. Maybe we should do a throwback episode into long bikes. Wait, this is our problem, David. We're not we're totally desynchronized with reality and with between us. So we are like bring up like all the time things that we watch that we have it in a list, which is great. I love.
Well, I'm really, really excited that you guys invited me to be a part of this conversation. Let me know how I could be helpful. And Nico, we should have a side conversation outside of this and just talk about creativity in general. And if I could be helpful or supportive in any way, and I hope that it goes two ways. And, this is what it's about,
Let's do it.
Thank you for taking the time. And
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
With everything.
Thank you for thinking of me.
Of course.
All right, guys.
Bye, guys. Bye.